getting all teary-eyed, okay?
You're getting all teary-eyed. Yeah. There's no crying in authentic conversations. Oh my God, there's so much crying in authentic conversations. You just don't get to see all of it.
Do you know Amaryllis? She cries over anything.
She's the teary-eyed one. Oh, I gotta put my phone on do not disturb. Sorry. Okay, because do not disturb me. I am busy. I am enraptured I'm encapsulated. I don't know. I'm here. I'm present. I'm removing all distractions.
Removing all distractions to find ourselves.
Yeah. So the external stuff that happens, right, is all designed for internal noticing. Right? Something happens on the outside. It's like you're not supposed to focus on necessarily what's happening on the outside. You're supposed to use that catalyst to be reflective of your responding on the inside. So how am I responding to what's happening outside? Is it nervous energy? Is it, fear? Is it excitement? Is it something that I'm uncertain about? Like, what am I feeling? And so often we've been programmed or shut down, like stop crying. Stop yelling, stop crying, stop being angry, stop, because it's not necessarily that we want to turn off their feelings, which inadvertently is what happens, but it's because we're uncomfortable with what it evokes in us, right? So if your child or significant other is having a bad day, and they're feeling really sad, if we can't separate ourselves from their sadness, then we want them to stop being sad because it makes us feel uncomfortable. We want them to stop being angry because it makes us feel uncomfortable. And what we're doing is we're suffocating the emotions of our children. Temper tantrums are normal in 2-year-olds. If a 2-year-old wants to have a temper tantrum in the middle of the store and other people are judging, this is Don Miguel Ruiz again, right? 4 agreements. Yeah. Do not pay attention to strangers in the store. Pay attention to the emotional needs of the person you love. But we give more credence to the fact that the strangers in the store might judge us, that the emotional needs go unmet or get squashed.
Well, guys, welcome to Authentic Conversations. I am Amaryllis.
And I'm Susan. And here we are.
Here we are. We always have things to just nibble on. And sometimes for us, and it just feels like we're saying the same thing, but it is. It's about loving ourselves, grounding, the gratefulness, and the breath.
Yes. Gratitude.
So gratitude. And so we just talked last week about Don Miguel Ruiz's book that we're working on, and be authentic with the words that you're saying, because when we get scattered in the middle of Walmart and your 2-year-old decides that they really, which I wish that we all could do this. I think that we would be better human beings if we stopped shutting that valve where we can express ourselves. What would this world be if we could express ourselves
appropriately,
right? But that you could express yourself, Susan, because it has, this frontal lobe does not develop till you're 21. So even at 2 years old, they're already stopping you from developing that. And by 21, you are numb. You don't express no feelings.
Well, right. The expression at 21 comes with, an AK-47 or a car driving too fast, or, just simple rage, because it comes out as anger. All of those unacknowledged emotions, just kind of turn black, they turn into anger, they become, so dark inside of us because we weren't able to soothe or work through or move through. Yeah. Now, sometimes, sometimes it's suppressed, sometimes it's definitely not the right time or place. Right. So we have to
Right.
like remove ourselves from that time or place. If your 2-year-old is, screaming in a dance recital hall where everyone is trying to watch, their children dance, you have to make a choice. You know what I mean? Like you may have to get up and remove from that situation. You might miss something, which I'm sure somebody videotaped, but not at the expense of, the emotions of your child. So we pacify people by just giving them things, right? And then they become materialistically fed. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So then instead of processing things emotionally, you get, it becomes this demand system where you're deserving of something because you're having a bad day. You're deserving of something because someone said something mean to you, or you eat food because you're having a bad day, or because someone. So we find ways to satiate that instead of feeling. Instead of feeling.
So I was just picked up one of Dr. Dwyer's book that I love him so much. And when I feel I need to hear his voice again, again, the same subject, right? So he's writing about the love that we have to have for ourselves. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the same thing we were just talking about with the do not take things personal. He's, reminding us that we have the option to, if we're in a traffic jam, do we let that traffic jam make our day, so then you become upset. So he gives the example of the father who gets stuck in traffic. Gets road rage, is upset. So now he gets into the house and he drinks because he's upset. And then the marriage falls apart because of the traffic, right? The traffic became the problem. And so because of the traffic, he drinks. And then because of the traffic, the marriage falls apart. And where was it that you take your own responsibility to stop pointing the finger outward and point it inward?
That's right, because it was never the traffic in the first place, because you always have a choice as to whether or not you want to attach anger or frustration to something, or, joy and compassion to something.
And he
It's
makes
like,
it, yeah, and he says, and I'm like, of course, he makes it just like when you talk. I'm like, this sounds so simple. My God, why can't? But it's the programming, right? It's the programming that we have where we just focus on the problem instead of, well, I'm stuck in traffic. I know at this hour there's always traffic. So I'm going to buy an audiobook, or I'm going to make this phone call that I've been, who do I need to catch up with? What do I do so that I'm this?
or I'm going to get a
Yeah.
new job that doesn't force me into the traffic. Maybe I make a little bit less money, but I work 5 minutes from home and create a more joyful life.
Right.
It's like it's when the suffering impacts, and I don't want to call it all self-imposed. I mean, for some it's circumstantial, but there's always choices. There's always other options, and how you perceive the other options. Like, oh, I can't take a pay cut because that's a hit to my worth. You know what I mean? I value who I am based on how much money I make, right?
But
So
then
if
goes with
I,
your values. What are your values? Then you have to realign your values, right? You have to realign if money and wealth and what people are seeing,
what
because
other
who are you
people,
living for?
what you think other people are seeing, because we don't even know what other people are seeing.
Yeah.
We have
Do
no
people really
idea.
care what you're driving and what you're wearing and what bag you're walking around with? Do they really care
Do they
how you got
remember?
it? To
Yeah.
what extent did you get this so that people can see you? And then all of a sudden, you're just living this life that is not authentic to who you are. And when you
Yeah.
start peeling this off, that anger becomes, when you start saying, like, why am I angry? If I know that I'm going to travel and I know that the flight might be delayed, or I got this less expensive ticket because this company does these deals, but I'm risking the fact that the last time, which was 4 times ago, it was delayed, you keep choosing the same option.
Right.
It's not the airline's choice. You already know this. Okay, the first time could be a surprise and you could be a little bit upset as a customer. But if you do it the second time and the third time and you hear others, then now you're choosing to put yourself in that predicament. So do you
That's
go to
right.
the airport with a good book?
Yeah. Because it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're okay with it, I mean, anything can be delayed at any time. Anything can be
Right,
shifted at any time. I mean, a thunderstorm can pop up. There are things we cannot control, and I feel like airlines is one of them, right? You
right.
know, smooth travel is always interesting, right? So you just have
Mm.
no expectations about it, and you ride the wave of life. But if you're continuing to suffer when you can make other choices, but you're not willing to make those other choices for fear of judgment from outside of you, then you have to pay attention. So we were just before we came on air, we were talking, a little bit, Emerald, about again, going back to your big move. I mean, your energy is so much better in your new location, but it's not your new location that changed your energy, right? You're still, yeah. So what is it? What is it about being there that feels different than where you were before? What have you done?
Um, I have made a realization that I needed to, one, find a way to plug myself back into the world from staying at home mom, and finding out that I'm an extrovert and that I love to be around people. So how did I balance that and getting back into the workforce, getting me back out there? But even when we came back, when we moved to Florida, the job that I chose was already starting the same patterns of, like, because I could be a workaholic. I right. So all
So
these awareness. So no awareness of wanting to slow down, wanting to get back to the work field, wanting to be entertainer because that's who I am. And then trying to mold it, which is what I'm doing right now. It's trying to, with boundaries. Oh, there's so much going on.
boundaries.
There's
We keep saying we need an episode on boundaries. Yeah, put that on the list. Um,
the boundaries. I feel like the move, it was a reset. I'm not gonna lie that, mentally we need to sometimes relocate ourselves from, or move ourselves from something that you're too close to, so that you can kind of like start over. You don't have to go to another state. But the change of that energy, the change of making that decision to say, I need to be this has to be so drastic. It was a little bit more than for others, right? Like others could be a job. For me, it just felt like I needed the warmth of the sun. That
mhm.
was one thing I noticed, that like when winter comes through, and New York was my option. I've always been my home and I love New York. But I noticed that when winter came through and me being at home all the time was not working with who I authentically am.
Right. Right. So the emotional part, so we started out, talking about like suppressed emotions. And I know that you shared a little bit with us, like, some of your family history but when I think about all the things you've accomplished in the last, little bit over a year, including reconciling with your father and, making some peace. I don't know if maybe reconciling is a strong word. I'll let you use, the choice of words, but at least having an opportunity to connect with your dad, and, your sister, like the feeling part of this, the emotional part of this. Do you feel like at some point you were suppressed and withholding and not understanding your emotional being versus now?
Oh, absolutely. I remember talking about my father. I was just talking to my best friend yesterday, we had not even had a chance to talk about my reconnection with my dad. She knew about it. And for the first time, I've been very conscious, again, awareness, right? Of speaking. talk about, step one that Don Miguel Ruiz talks about, where your speaking can become gossipy, or when you're just kind of talking, but really no one's like, who are you going to talk to about this? And this was a very emotional journey for me, because I knew this is like more than 18 years of me dealing with my father's relationship, right? So I was very conscious of, like, before he came, of my energy. I'm an empath, so I know that I get triggered easily. So I had to like listen a lot, like whatever my husband would say, if he said anything that I was starting to be like, I had to be like, oh no, wait. Like, this is not this. This is actually me nervous about what's about to happen.
That's right. That's right. Don't react or project. Just listen. Yeah. Notice. Be aware.
Putting all the work that we're talking about into place. The journaling, or just the taking the pause. Like, okay, I'm gonna go for a walk right now because I'm feeling very jittery, and I don't know why I'm upset about the toothpaste or this floor that's always full of dirty clothes, because that's there. It's always been there. But why is it bothering me right now at this moment? But it was years of work of getting to this place. And I remember when I talked about my dad, like this energy right in my chakra here.
Right in the heart, right in the chest. Yeah.
And where I couldn't talk, I just would get really, my throat is get
closed.
Because it's emotional. It's, and I remember seeing him when he came over, and sometimes having like out of body experience of me and my other me. Like, are you really gonna fucking sit here and like look at this guy and have a conversation with him? Are you okay with this? Are you, and having to tell her, like, it's okay, I got you.
Yeah. You're big girl, I'm holding you. Yeah.
I have boundaries. I'm holding you. I'm now an adult who can take care of little Amarellis who felt abandoned.
Yes.
Because of all the work that I've done, of knowing that I have codependencies with my friendships. I was like, I have a codependency problem? What are you talking about? Because you start doing this work and you think that you're going to hear good stuff, guys. And all of a sudden your shit gets put back in your place and you're like.
Without judgment. No.
But you're like, codependency problems. Okay.
All right. Write it down.
Who's this person? Why am I paying this?
Sort through it.
You have to deal with boundaries. And I'm like, why do I have to deal with that? Like, I'm a giving person. Why is it me helping others depleting me?
Yes, depleting you. That's exactly what it is. And the intention behind all of the giving, you know what I mean? You have to explore that too,
Yeah, because you feel like you're being a good person. You
right.
want to be a good person. You want to.
It becomes your identity. It becomes your identity at all costs, at the expense of yourself. So the emotional roller coaster, but just being able to tap into that emotion and being able to recognize, that your inner child wanted to lash out or bolt, and being able to say to yourself, no, I'm not there. I'm here now, and I know so much more, and I understand so much more, and I will never allow that kind of pain to to enter again. Like, I can't go back there. So, just acknowledging the growth and, and feeling the feels.
Yeah, because it's not just for me. When we're studying this work, we're learning about the oneness of energy, the ancestral energy, the history, right? His story, right? Yes. These are words that you've said, Susan, in our meditation, in our work that we do together. And so when you really put together that you want to listen to these things, again, it's hard.
Right.
Because we do want to sit down and pout and say, well, I'm this way because I had a bad childhood. I'm this way because I didn't have parents. But there was always a light in me. And it's that candle light that Dr. Dwayne Dwyer also brings up in his book that I'm reading again. The candle, right? You take it out in the wind and the wind can flicker that candle. And that's what this world is about. And that if we could all just shelter each other's light and be the light for each other. So I'm not only healing for myself, I also had to set that boundary of that it's not just about me,
Right.
but also my children.
Future generations.
And
Yes.
and a friend of mine who might be going through the same thing, who if I heal, maybe they too will heal, even if it's just them writing a letter and saying, I let you go, I don't need to see you. Like, great, I realize you got to see your dad and that's good for you, but you know what, that's still too much for me. But
Yeah.
maybe I'll write a letter. Maybe I'll realize that I'm a good dad because I don't have a relationship with this person. I don't let this person in my world. And I've learned from this and I'm present with my children. It all becomes different, for my partner, he was always telling me, hey, your dad is alive. Mine is not.
Mm.
And I used to be very angry about it. And I would throw it right back at him and go, well, this is like, you're telling me to have a conversation with someone who beat me or abuse me. Like, why should I forgive him? Why should I have a conversation? Why even
Right.
open that
He's
door?
dead to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But what a beautiful, and you're right, the trickle down or the byproducts of you being your authentic self and feeling your emotions and, meeting the things that are challenging to you head on and feeling safe inside yourself. Like those are the examples now that you're setting for your children and for all future generations, and for us to be able to watch that. It's a beautiful thing because everybody takes something from the experiences or the exchanges. So just a simple conversation with someone on the subway or someone in the airport or someone, at the grocery store, you have no idea, what
yeah,
might, have a lasting impact or a,
right. Because if your light is centered and now you have an interaction with somebody, even where you bump into this person and you apologize genuinely and they feel that energy, then it can burst into this. The reason of you bumping into them is this conversation that happens right then and there. And you don't know what your words could say to this person, again, about the agreements, right? What
Right.
you could either make it a bad interaction and be like, well, you were in my way, or it could be, I'm really sorry, I'm a little distracted, and have this thing where you just, for a couple of minutes, you think that telling somebody, hey, you look nice today, you don't know how much those few words can make to somebody, because
Right.
that person can be walking around. I was that person who, I'm the life of the party. I want to take care of others. I know I'm always happy. I don't know how to be sad. For me, being sad and slowing down was laziness. There's no, being sad is bad. It's a bad energy. You should not be depressed, or how dare you, because you have so much, you
Yes.
know,
So much to
allow.
offer.
Well, and then I felt like, well, if I waddle in my sadness, I could also go down this rabbit hole where I'm not going to get out of it. So finding that support is so important. And I know that I have a beautiful gift and blessing from God to find the right people when I'm lost. I
Yeah.
have been blessed. I found you, I found other mentors in my life who have come and gone, or conversations with others, or being aware of, guys, of what pops up in your face and saying, why does this keep coming up? What does that mean? A dragonfly or a butterfly, like the world is full of meanings for us, and it's always talking to us. It's just not talking to us in the way that we want it to, which
Well, it's
is
not talking to us if we're not listening. I mean, it's
right.
always talking to us, but we're
It's
not
always
hearing it if we're not listening. Yeah. No, if you continue to avoid the sadness, then it reaches a volcanic boiling point. You know what I mean? It's
oh
like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. And then it comes
it
out
did.
as anger.
Yeah, it came out as anger to my children. They have no fault of me being angry because I haven't worked on my own.
Yes. Yes.
They have no
Again,
fault.
going back to, the embarrassment of the temper tantrum, right?
Right.
Anyone who's ever had a 2-year-old is compassionate towards that.
Oh yeah.
And if you're not, or you haven't,
you need
what
to
you
be.
think is none of my business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sacrifice what, the emotional needs of the loved one for the general public opinion, which I don't even know
Mhm.
what that is. I'm just projecting that out there. So again, it's about, holding space. It's about not becoming the volcano by pretending that everything's okay, because everybody is growing through something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And who are your community? Who is supporting you? You know, as a mom, you have to find that outlet where you can talk to adults and stop the baby talk all day long and connect back to who you are and not forget who you are. And you are not the same person that you were yesterday or that single person. Yes, you have evolved. And yes, some people will tell you you have changed and it hurts, but you have to change to be a parent
Well, you have to change to continue
in
to grow.
everything.
Everything else is changing. The world is constantly changing. If we're staying the same or someone wants the same version of ourselves, then they are not living in the present either. So,
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yep. That goes back to the boundaries again.
Yeah. There's no, there's no easy way through, but there is a way to simplify things so that they feel better, so that you can, and I say feel better, like you have to feel. If you give yourself permission for however long it takes to feel whatever it is that you need to feel, until you can find your way through it, until you can spin the story or change but you have to feel it and you have to recognize it and where it comes from. And it does it like the better you get at that, the shorter the duration. Right. So,
Yeah.
Amarilla says, I feel like if I went into that sad place, I would never come out. Well, so you might stay in that sad place for like, days, weeks, months, whatever, but you will come out. And when you come out, you will be able to like kind of, clean it along the way, cleanse it out, get rid of it. Depends on how long you've been ignoring it, how long it takes to get through it. And then once you have that clean out, if you address things as they come up, sometimes it can be minutes or hours. You don't have to go back into days, weeks, whatever. So
It's amazing because the unconsciousness is already working.
yes.
So it doesn't know anything about the time and whether it's right now or in the future or in the past. So this is where it all comes back again, Susan, when we talk about being in the present, right? It's so for the programming has taught us that we need to work hard for the future that's not even here.
That we have no idea of all the variables that could shift or change things. You have no idea what's going to show up for you next
Then
week.
we're programmed to think about the past,
To use
so that
the
we can blame
past.
it, to use
That's
the past
right.
to blame.
Yeah.
And then what happens to this right here?
Yeah. We miss it.
We
We're
miss
not
it.
living. We're not living our lives because
You
we're not
look, you
living now.
blink, and then all of a sudden time is irrelevant, and then you just realize your children are 20 years old walking down the aisle getting married or whatever, and you're like, how did that happen?
So we're worried about what might happen. So we
Mhm.
spend our time living in worry about the future and in condemnation or judgment of the past, right? So we're mad at ourselves because we didn't take a left when we should have taken a left. And we're worried about the ramifications of having gone right. And, so where's now in that equation? Now is now. And now is the only time you're living and breathing is now. Nice deep inhale, fill the body with breath. That's all you need to do. And on the relaxation, exhale, relax. Yeah. And just be present. Be present for your kids, meet them where they're at. Be present for your spouse, meet them where they're at. Be present for yourself, meet you where you're at. Like, this is what we have to do.
And again, guys, it's all about centering ourselves. When we love ourselves, then we can love others. When our cup is full, then we can give to others.
The overflow.
But it is that simple, and it is baby steps. 18 plus years for me to forgive somebody, this person, to see them in the light, to know that they too had a life, that they too were
Doing the best they
do
could
doing the best they can.
with what they
And that,
know.
and with it, again, it's all about how is it that you want to heal. Doesn't always have to be a conversation. Doesn't always have to be where you have to, but there are ways that you can get that energy off of you by writing it, burning it, full moon, new moon. The moon is always coming back in a cycle. The sun comes back the next day, and we are here today. So if
Yes.
you're here today, you choose what kind of day you're going to have. Am I going to have a good day? Do I have that option? I do. Well, I don't have a car. Well, I don't have it. Ooh, you have your beautiful legs. Can you walk?
You breathe
Go
in?
outside. Can you breathe? Can you have a conversation with your kids and find out why they're upset or what they're doing, and find out, even if you don't know what TikTok is and what they're in, ask them to teach you, show you, let you in their world, because their world is completely different than our world, guys. It's not the same.
Yeah.
And that's being present for them and showing them that, hey, I love you. If you got an F, it's okay. How can I help you get
How can we
a C?
together, how
How
can
can we
we
do this?
together improve that?
But
Yeah,
but that does not change the love that I have for you,
that's
guys.
right.
It's not, you're not a grade. You're now, parents thinking about the kids' future and comparing them to other
You're
this
not a
other kid.
grade, you're not a gender, you're not successful or unsuccessful based on college or where you go or what you do. You are, you're a human being having an experience.
So let's let's be in the moment.
Yeah.
Let's support each other. Thank you so much, Susan, for once again joining me this beautiful day.
Of
And
course.
the reminder that baby steps, guys. No child learned to walk right away.
That's
You
right.
didn't learn.
Hold
So,
space for their emotional development, just like you hold space for their physical development.
and hold space for yourself and forgiveness for yourself, that you are doing the best that you can just where you are in this moment. And finding us is already a message from the universe to let you know that you're in the right way. You're on the right path. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.